with this election coming up, seems like crypto is on everyone's mind these days, you know?
Yeah.
But this article you sent over, it really cuts through all the hype. It asks, are we even focusing on the right things when it comes to this whole crypto thing?
Yeah.
Like, are we asking the right questions?
Right.
It's written by some serious heavy hitters. I got to say,
Hmm.
in the crypto policy world, we've got Christian Catalini from MIT,
Right.
Massari from Berkeley,
Hmm.
and Rebecca Rettig, the chief legal officer over at Polygon Labs.
Wow.
And they're making a really interesting point. They're saying we need to shift our focus from speculation to something they call building.
Building. Okay.
So I'm curious, what does building even mean when we're talking about like the world of crypto?
Well, it's interesting, right? They draw this really fascinating parallel to the early days of the internet. You remember that? Like dial-up modems?
Oh, I remember those days.
Clunky websites, people saying it was just a fad.
Oh yeah, it's a fad, it's going away.
Exactly.
And now, look at us. I mean, we basically live online, but you're right, it did take some time for us to figure out what the internet was really good for.
Exactly. And the authors of this article, they're saying we're kind of at a similar point with crypto. Like right now, it's still seen by a lot of people as this like get rich quick scheme.
Yeah.
You know, think like the laser eyes, Bitcoin maximalists.
Oh yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
But the technology, it has the potential to be so much more than that.
So they're saying that all this focus on speculation, it's
Oh.
actually holding crypto back. It's like we're so busy trying to ride the waves that we're forgetting to actually like build something that lasts.
Exactly, yeah. And what I think is really interesting is that they don't let either side of the political aisle off the hook here. They're saying that both Trump and the Biden administration, they've both kind of approached crypto with the wrong priorities.
Okay, now that is interesting. I'd love to hear a little bit more about how they see each side, you know, maybe missing the mark.
Sure. So when it comes to Trump, they point out that, you know, he kind of presented himself as pro-crypto, but if you really look at it, his interests really seem to be about, you know, like boosting Bitcoin's price. Like, remember when he talked about wanting a Bitcoin reserve for the U.S.?
Yeah.
Or his stance on stablecoins?
It all seemed a bit, well, let's just say it raised a few eyebrows at the time.
Right. And the authors argue that this whole approach, like focusing on those short-term market moves, it doesn't really do anything to create a good environment for real innovation.
Yeah, right.
And then you've got the Biden administration, and they're criticizing, you know, what they call regulation by enforcement.
Regulation by enforce.
Basically, instead of saying, okay, here are some like clear guidelines for what you can and can't do with crypto, they're just kind of waiting for people to mess up and then coming down hard.
Regulation by enforcement. It does sound a little scary, doesn't it? Like a little bit ominous.
Yeah, it does. And it creates a lot of uncertainty, right? For businesses, for innovators in the space. It's like, imagine trying to build a house, but you don't actually know the building codes.
Ooh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, you're just kind of like hoping for the best.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. It's like, how can you build something if you don't even know what the rules are? It doesn't seem like it would foster a lot of innovation.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if both sides are, you know, kind of dropping the ball here, what do these authors propose instead? I mean, what's the alternative?
Well, this is where their idea of builders versus speculators really comes in.
Okay.
Their argument is we need regulations, but they need to incentivize the builders,
Okay.
the people who are actually creating stuff, real-world applications for this technology.
So not just the people trying to get rich quick, but the ones who are actually trying to build something with it. Got it.
Right, exactly.
And what about their suggestion of treating blockchain networks like critical infrastructure?
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty radical idea.
Yeah, it is a big idea, but think about it, right? We regulate things like the internet,
Right.
telecommunications, and why do we do that? Because they're essential to our economy, to our lives. The authors are saying, hey, blockchain technology, it has that same potential.
Oh, so they're saying we should regulate blockchain like with the same intensity that we regulate like the power grid.
I don't know about the same intensity, but
Right.
with the same understanding that this is important, that this is something that could be really, really crucial to how our world works. So we need a regulatory framework that actually reflects that.
So it's not just about like preventing the next big crypto crash or something like that. It's about actually thinking about how we harness this technology for good.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then there's this whole idea of smart Bitcoin mining.
Yes. Smart Bitcoin mining.
That one really piqued my interest. How's that different from just regular Bitcoin mining?
Yeah.
Isn't it all just about, you know, making money?
That's what a lot of people think, right? But the authors are challenging that assumption. They're saying it doesn't have to be that way. Like, they point to examples of miners using excess energy to power rural communities or even to help stabilize the electrical grid.
Wow, I never even thought of that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So it's about, like, thinking beyond just the financial incentives,
Right.
looking at the bigger picture. How can we use this technology to benefit, society as a whole?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that actually ties into another thing they talk about, which is stable coins, which, I mean, they're kind of everywhere in the news these days.
They are everywhere.
So stable coins, where do they fit into all of this whole builders versus speculators idea?
Well, they see stablecoins as having huge potential, like really huge, especially for things like cross-border payments,
Right.
financial inclusion. Imagine like being able to send money anywhere in the world
Yeah.
instantly for almost nothing. Even if you don't have a bank account, that's what stablecoins could do.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like almost like something out of a movie.
It does. It does. But it could also, really empower people, like people who the traditional financial system has kind of left behind.
For sure. Okay. But I'm sensing a but coming. There's got to be a catch, right?
There's always a catch. So the big thing they're worried about is if we don't get the regulations right,
Right.
we could end up just recreating the same problems we already have, like with credit card companies.
Or just a handful of companies control everything.
All right.
So how do we walk that tightrope? How do we encourage innovation, but without letting those same power structures just like take over?
That's the million-dollar question. And, we can't really talk about crypto without talking about the elephant in the room. You know what I'm talking about?
The illicit activity stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, that always comes up, doesn't it? Like whenever anybody criticizes crypto.
And the authors, to their credit, they really take that stuff seriously. They acknowledge, crypto's been used for illegal things.
Yeah.
But they also say, look, this technology, it can be part of the solution too.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How so?
So blockchain technology, by its very nature, is transparent. Everything is recorded on this public ledger, right?
Oh.
So their argument is if we can figure out better systems for things like identity verification, within that framework, crypto could actually become much less appealing to criminals.
Interesting. So instead of just being like, crypto's bad, shut it all down, it's more about like making it safer,
Right.
more transparent.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I really like about this article. It's not about taking sides or pointing fingers.
Right.
It's about, like, how do we have a real conversation about this stuff? How do we shape the future of this technology in a way that actually benefits everybody?
It really does feel like we're at this pivotal moment, like we're writing the rules for this whole new world, which is kind of exciting, but also maybe a little bit scary.
Yeah.
What do you think, listener? Are you feeling that too?
Yeah.
That kind of like mix of possibility and apprehension.
Yeah.
Because like, as the authors point out, this isn't just about whether you invest in Bitcoin or whatever.
Yeah.
This is about the future of like everything. Finance, tech, maybe even global power.
Big picture stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, the big picture. And one question the authors asked that really stuck with me is this. Could crypto actually bring competition back to industries that haven't seen it in decades? Those industries that have just been dominated by the same old players forever.
It's a good question.
It really is. What do you think, listener? What industries are, like, ripe for a shakeup? We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can find links to the article and some other resources we mentioned in the show notes. And until next time, keep those brains buzzing.